The game never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to the SDH Network. This is Morning Espresso, brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. It's Tuesday, December 30th. I'm Jason Longshore. Today, we get into Morocco making a statement as AFCON comes into focus in match day 3. Arsenal and Aston Villa meeting in a defining night at the top of the Premier League. And MLS is shifting from off-season theory to on-field reality. Training camps are less than 2 weeks away. Let's get into it. AFCON hosts Morocco, the Atlas Lions. They sent a clear message on Monday night in Rabat. 3-0 win over Zambia to close out the group stage, and it felt emphatic without being frantic. Ayoub El-Kaabi scored twice, again, including another bicycle kick that has become one of the defining images of this tournament. The amount of bicycle kicks that this guy has scored just in the last few months, he scored 2 in the last 3 games. It's insane. I've never seen anybody on a run like this, and we talked about it on Soccer Over There last night. These are not just run-of-the-mill bicycle kicks, which are not run-of-the-mill by any stretch. These are on the difficult scale of bicycle kicks, and he just keeps doing it. He's been incredible. Brahim Diaz has been incredible in this tournament. He had a composed finish. He scored in every group game, the first Moroccan player to do that in a long, long time. And Morocco eases into the knockout rounds as the Group A winners. The performance matters because of what surrounded it. It's not just a win, it's an emphatic win because, look, the group stage had not been spotless for them. A draw with Mali in Game 2, that snapped a long winning streak. That brought whistles in the stadium, which were unnecessary, and that's why Achraf Hakimi said, hey, cut that out. That doesn't help any of us. Let's get behind this group. It brought some outside pressure onto head coach Walid Regragui, who didn't deserve it. Inside the camp, the response has been unified. Eliassé Ben Seguir, he didn't hesitate afterwards when speaking to the media. He said, he's the boss. We trust him. We'll fight for him. The group celebrations you saw, that wasn't accidental. That was because this team has really come together. The biggest cheer of the night came in the 64th minute when Achraf Hakimi returned from injury. Relief, belief, momentum. Morocco feels like they are rounding into form at just the right time. They came into this tournament as the favorites, as the hosts. They are heading into the knockout rounds as the favorite. The picture's tightening around the rest of the tournament. 2 more groups will conclude today. Mali advanced despite a scoreless draw with Comoros. 3 draws for Mali. It's enough, but they're not all that inspiring at the moment. Egypt, their work was done. They were already in. They topped Group B after a scoreless draw with Angola. That does keep Angola alive on 2 points. Egypt ends up winning the group. South Africa, they had to take the lead 3 times in a 3-2 win against Zimbabwe. Crazy performance from South Africa. Hugo Broos, their manager, said they fell asleep again. Defensively, they did not look secure at all. But attack-wise, the South African team is a lot of fun to watch. The third-place permutations with 4 of 6 third-place teams getting into the knockout rounds, all that's still unfolding. But you've got Burkina Faso getting into the knockouts for the first time. You've got Sudan getting into the knockouts. You have some really cool stories that are happening in this tournament that are going to be very exciting going forward. The margins disappear, though, as you get ready for the knockout rounds. And as El-Kaabi said afterwards, now a new competition begins. There's no room for error. Let's go to the Premier League, where there's very little room for error. Arsenal hosting Aston Villa tonight in North London. It doesn't just feel big. It is a big game. It's a genuine 6-pointer in the Premier League title race, and nobody had this on their bingo cards back at the beginning of the season. Not the Aston Villa match being one of the genuine 6-pointers in the title race. If Arsenal win, they create separation from Villa, and then maybe it becomes a 2-point or a 2-team race with Arsenal and Manchester City. If Villa win, Unai Emery can't say that they're not a title contender anymore. He can't this team can't be dismissed as a story waiting to end. If it's a draw, then Pep Guardiola and Manchester City will be pumping their fists. Villa come into this, and we've talked about it over the last couple of days, absurdly good form, 11 straight wins in all competitions. They're not doing it with spreadsheet numbers. They're not blowing teams away. They are doing it with a grit and a resolve, and I think a very smart game plan from Unai Emery and great adjustments in game from him. He's getting goals from substitutes. They're getting goals late. They're coming back in games. They keep finding the moments. 1-goal wins, points from losing positions. They've earned more of those than anyone else in the league. Ollie Watkins looks sharp again, and history favors him at the Emirates. For Arsenal, this is about control versus the consequences of not maintaining that control. They've dominated recent home matches in shot count and all the spreadsheet stuff, territory possession, but they've struggled to kill games. They haven't delivered in those moments a whole lot. They've delivered enough in the moments, but not to the level that we all think this Arsenal team can be. I mean, I feel like it was about a month ago that I said this was the best team in Europe. They've slipped from that a little bit, but they're still really good. Can they get back just that little element? It's just that little bit of paying off some of that control and some of that dominance. They're just not getting enough goals in open play. Can that change? They're going to get tested today against an Aston Villa team that will be happy to sit deep, to frustrate, to counter. Mikel Arteta said that Villa are firmly deserving of their place in the race. Unai Emery, he put all the pressure on Arsenal. He said they're the favorites. They are. Both statements are true. Tonight, one team's belief becomes a little more tangible, and either a run ends or this race is going to be a lot of fun going down the stretch. I don't know if Villa can fall 6 points back and keep that belief going. I feel like they have to get a win here. Otherwise, they start to fall away a bit. We're going to find out. Let's come back home. Major League Soccer getting ready for 2026, entering a different phase of the off-season. Training camps open in less than 2 weeks. Clubs are clearly building with 2026 in mind now, and it's starting to get a little more urgent. The LA Galaxy, they added center back Justin Hack to pair with Jacob Glesnes, two brand new center backs for the Galaxy who struggled last year after winning the title the year before. Good base to start from with Hack and Glesnes. LAFC, they brought in Jacob Schaffelberg from Nashville. He adds a lot of speed, verticality alongside Denny Bwanga and Son Heung-min. That's also a lot of speed. That's also a lot of verticality. Mark Dos Santos has got a lot of weapons to work with. That front three. Whew. Seattle, they retained Paul Rothrock. He was looking at other options, but Seattle has kept him. That's a smart move. San Jose doubled down on their local production after rookie year success with Bo Leroux. He is back on a better deal. That's a smart move. Minnesota, they paid some serious allocation money to Charlotte for Drake Callender to stabilize the goalkeeping position. Callender was the man in Miami and then lost that spot. It was a really weird situation all the way through. He ends up going to Charlotte, didn't play, and now he goes to Minnesota to replace the guy who is now in Miami in Dane St. Clair. We'll see who ends up winning all of that in the long run. I think both are very good goalkeepers, and I'm a big fan of Drake Callender. So I think Minnesota will be just fine. I could absolutely see a scenario where Callender is the better goalkeeper than Dane St. Clair. We're gonna see how all that plays out. Columbus, the news broke yesterday that Russell Martin is emerging as a finalist, and Martin, as Jarrett Smith told you on Soccer Over There last night, had a very poor run at Rangers, the worst run in Rangers history, a very short run in Rangers history as the manager. But his style of play, his beliefs, his principles are in the same ballpark as Wilfried Nancy, who's made Columbus more relevant than they've ever been over a long period of time. I think the Columbus job's a prime job in the league because of what Wilfried Nancy did. Now, Nancy is in Glasgow and on the green side of things with Celtic and starting to turn things around. It's very weird that you'd have Martin, who failed on the other side of Glasgow with Rangers, going to replace Nancy in Columbus, but that's what it's looking like. I think it makes sense in terms of principles of play and ideas and making an easy transition. I'll just be curious to see if Martin can bounce back after a very bad time in a very pressure-packed job. And all of this with MLS arrives alongside new global data that shows MLS is ranked 6th among most watched leagues in the world. Broadcast in over 180 countries, attendance nearing 8 million per season. The digital reach is completely exploding at the moment. It's not about a rival. It's the continued growth trajectory. It's not about like, oh, now MLS is here. No, they've been here. We've had these conversations before about MLS getting into this level, and wherever you want to put it behind Europe's Big Five, they're right there in that mix with Mexico, with Brazil, you could put Argentina, Portugal, the Netherlands, those leagues kind of all in that mix. According to the global data that was published recently, MLS is ahead of them in most watched leagues in the world. I think quality-wise, you've got to pass Mexico and Brazil in this hemisphere. I could see a scenario where all three are ahead of Portugal and the Netherlands across the entire league. Maybe not the top teams in those leagues, but across the entire league. So it's very competitive amongst those teams in those leagues. It's all very similar. But MLS in some metrics is passing those leagues, and that's a big deal. And it's only going to continue to increase as you get further into 2026 after the World Cup. Don't forget, as you look around the SDH network today on SDH AM, you can watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and X. John Nelson hosting, MLS and NWSL commentator Casey White joining the show. She looks back at 2025, including her work in the college game, and ahead to 2026. It's a conversation worth your time. If you miss it live, you can always go back and watch it on demand, and you can listen to it on demand wherever you get your SDH podcasts. And if you missed last night's chaos and shenanigans and all that, soccer over there is available on demand as well, both audio and video form. So on the YouTube or on the podcast, you can get the picks of the week. You can learn about teams in Bermuda and in Jamaica, and also in some of the biggest leagues in the world. Picks of the week, it's all over the map. Enjoy it. Soccer over there is available wherever you get your SDH network content. Some quick sips before we wrap the refill. Manchester United, they landed Lea Schuler from Bayern Munich, a big-time attacking addition on the women's side, as Manchester United is investing much more heavily on that side of things, and they need to. They have a big opportunity to jump into the top tier of the Women's Super League. Denver Summit, they are breaking ground on a record-level NWSL transfer for Ioki. Georgia-born player, excited to see what she could be in NWSL, coming in from Pachuca in Liga MX. MLS saw some recognition at the Globe Soccer Awards. Best Academy went to the Right to Dream Academy, which is part of the San Diego FC expansion efforts. And LAFC won Best Branding. Really cool that both of those were recognized at the Globe Soccer Awards. Another metric in terms of being watched, Germany's women again outdrew the men on television. You do have to keep it in context a little bit because of competitions and the Euros for Germany versus men's friendlies and qualifiers. But I think it just shows you that soccer fans are going to watch good soccer. And Germany's women are playing good soccer, and they're absolutely worth your time. Ronald Araujo returns to training at FC Barcelona after a mental health break. Really cool that the club granted it, and hopefully he is in a better headspace as he gets into a busy portion of the schedule for Barca as they get back into league play this weekend, and then the Supercopa is looming. That will be a very interesting competition with a lot of pressure on Barca, but probably even more pressure on Real Madrid, as Xabi Alonso, I think, relieved some of the pressure with wins before the holiday break, but that will just double back down on him if they don't start things well after the break or they struggle in the Supercopa. Wrexham, another win for them. They keep climbing the table in the championship, and with what we've seen from them with the successive promotions, this was the spot where it's like, oh, no chance. No chance. They're not going to go into the championship in their first year and then get promoted into the Premier League, are they? It's still a long shot, but they are getting into the mix where you start to look at getting into those playoff spots. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's still a long shot, but it is not completely out of the realm of possibility. I'm curious to see what they do in January. Do they go and try to make a big splash in the January window to chase it now? Or do they build a year in the championship and then go and try to really go for it next season? I'm fascinated. It's going to be a very interesting watch. I've kind of wanted to slow down and pump the brakes on what they've done so far. Getting to this point, it's like, okay, they can get here, but can they go past it? It's looking like they might. Roma with a big win to stay in the mix for the Serie A title. River Plate, they are looking at upgrading their team after a disappointing year in Argentina and in Copa Libertadores. They won't be in the Libertadores next year, but they're also looking at upgrading their stadium. And the Monumental is one of the biggest stadiums in South America, but they are working on making it even bigger. They're working on adding a roof, expanding the capacity to 100,000 people. They would also do all of this without making the team move. They would do it in stages where they'd be able to play games there. It's sponsored by MAS. It's the MAS Monumental right now. It's the largest stadium in Argentina, 85,000 supporters right now. They do a lot of concerts, other live events. Capacity usually gets reduced for those. If you expand the capacity, you would increase ticket revenue. You'd strengthen the club's chances of hosting big games. You would get it'd be the national stadium for Argentina. It mostly is, but they do play games in other places. It might just become the Wembley for Buenos Aires and for Argentina. The roof is a big deal. That would improve acoustics. It would reinforce the overall structure of the stadium. It would change the look of it, and it is pretty iconic right now. I'm curious to see how they would manage it. But the biggest thing is they would do this without making the team move. The stadium was opened in 1938. They have had over the years substantial upgrades, especially recently, work on the pitch, corporate boxes, access points for supporters, all of that. But this would be a monumental kind of upgrade for the Monumental in Buenos Aires. That does it for this edition of the Morning Espresso. Thank you for supporting the SDH network. Thank you for supporting the great soccer that we're getting a chance to watch right now. AFCON has been a blast. The Premier League, biggest game of the year today with Aston Villa at Arsenal, and all of us getting ready for Major League Soccer, preparing for the 2026 season. I'll be back tonight, 10 o'clock on 92.9 The Game for Atlanta Soccer Tonight. You can also listen on the Odyssey app. We'll recap the year that was. We'll look ahead to a 2026 that will shape soccer in our region forever. That's Morning Espresso. I'll be back with another cup of global soccer news for you in the morning on Wednesday.